This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 186, Why Content Marketing and Why Now? An excerpt from my new book, The Content Marketing Coach. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we hope you grow your tribe and your bottom line through insanely good content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is August 4th, 2016. Hello, or as we say in Texas, howdy, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. Just a reminder, this podcast is available on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and now Google Play Music. So if you like what you hear, please feel free to click on over and subscribe so you can get every single episode delivered directly to your happy little ears. I also invite you to subscribe to our weekly tip emails. Every Friday, we send out a quick content marketing tip, plus links to our weekly video and the weekly blog post, as well as to the podcast. To subscribe, just go to resonancetips.com. Okay, folks, this is it, the announcement I've been promising for what seems like forever. The announcement of my new book. Yes, it is finally a reality. It's called The Content Marketing Coach, Everything You Need to Get in the Game and Win. And it's now available for pre-order at contentmarketingcoachbook.com. I'm going to tell you much more about it here in a few minutes, but first we got some business to take care of. Last week, we talked about the question of whether you need a content librarian. Spoiler alert, the answer is probably yes. And if you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or Stitcher or via the RSS feed. Today, I'm sharing some juicy insights from my new book, The Content Marketing Coach. Specifically, we'll be answering the question, why content marketing and why now? But first, it's time to check in with our news feed for this week's rundown of news you can use. We've got an announcement from Twitter to kick off our news feed. Twitter recently announced a new mobile feature that allows you to add stickers to your photos. So if you use Twitter for iOS or Android, you can now add stickers to your photo, and those are things ranging from sunglasses to diving masks to food icons to weather icons. But here's the thing, they're not just stickers, they're actually visual hashtags. So if you tap on a sticker in any photo, Twitter will show you the tweets from around the Twitterverse that are also using that sticker. Now, this is clearly a riff on Snapchat's sticker feature. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And, I played with this a little bit, and it doesn't look like it's catching on quite yet on Twitter. So remains to be seen how successful that is going to be. But the search feature is interesting, especially, if they were to open up brands and offer brands the ability to make their own stickers and to make those stickers searchable. So I wonder if you can have a sticker that would, put a Coke in somebody's hand or something like that. And would that ruin the experience for the rest of the users? So, we always walk a fine line. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this sticker feature from Twitter. Okay, our content hit of the week is a guest post by Jerry Lowe on the ProBlogger blog, and it's called How to Find Blog Post Ideas That People Can't Wait to Read. And this post really attracted me because we all struggle with this, right? We all struggle to stand out. We want to write blog posts that are different but are still compelling and tie into those popular topics that people actually want to read about. And in this post, Jerry shows us 4 very solid data-based strategies for nailing down the topics your audience wants to read about and spinning them into insanely successful blog posts. So I will, of course, provide the URL or provide a link in the blog post for this episode so that you can check it out for yourself. And that title, again, is How to Find Blog Post Ideas That People Can't Wait to Read, a guest post by Jerry Lowe on the ProBlogger blog. Okay, that's it for this week's update. If you stumble across something you think might be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please tweet it to me at ResonanceCont, Resonance Content with the ENT lopped off, so that we can share. Now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment, Why Content Marketing and Why Now? An excerpt from my new book, The Content Marketing Coach. Yes, I can hardly believe I'm actually announcing this, but after months of hard work and countless bumps along the road, the book is finally here. And it's so funny, folks. I was working with someone, kind of a part editor, part accountability coach to get the content wrapped up. And we finished the content. I wrote the last chapter back in March. And I said, okay, last chapter's written. Figure we'll launch this puppy in what, couple of weeks? And she said, oh, you silly woman. You have no idea. So we are finally there. The Content Marketing Coach, everything you need to get in the game and win. That is the title. And it will be shipping on September 1st, but it's now available for pre-order. And I'm just going to say, if you pre-order by August 31st, you will score some super sweet MVP bonuses. Those include an exclusive webinar on time management for content marketers. You will get a free copy of the Content Marketing Coach's Playbook. This is a kind of a tactical supplement to the book that we put together. And you will even have the opportunity to have a 20-minute phone consultation with me. And all that is my gift to you for pre-ordering the book. That URL, again, is contentmarketingcoachbook.com. I also want to mention that shipping is going to be free inside the United States, and there is a for orders outside the United States. I know we have an international audience here. There is a $12 fee for shipping in addition to the cost of the book. Just wanted to let you know in the interest of transparency. So, as you can tell, I am just excited beyond words to have this book finally come to fruition. It's been, I finished the content back in March, but it's been on my mind for years, and it was really inspired by you. It was inspired by podcast listeners. So many people who contacted me to thank me, to say, Rachel, I was so happy to find simple, practical advice because I came from journalism or I came from traditional advertising and I came in having no idea how to be a content marketer, and you really are helping me to get there. So I was inspired by those folks and want to say thank you for the inspiration, and I'm excited to share this book with you. So place your pre-order today and let me know what you think. So in the spirit of that pre-launch or pre-order event, all month long we are going to be sharing insights from the book. Oh my gosh, I've had too much coffee today. Goodness gracious. We'll be sharing insights from the book all month long, and today we're talking about the question, why content marketing and why now? Now, of course, I'm not going to sit here and read directly from the book because that would be silly and lame. But, when we talk about why content marketing and why now, it's a compelling question because, as I point out in the book, content marketing is nothing new. In fact, the John Deere company has been publishing a magazine for its customers and prospective customers since 1896. So it's been around for well over a century. So why now? Why are we now just getting on the bandwagon? Why is it suddenly a thing, as Archer would say? And why are we spending time, effort, and yes, money to add content marketing to our strategies? Well, in order to understand that, we have to understand where we came from. And in the book, let's see, I'm in chapter 2 right now. We need to look at marketing as it was. And back in the day, and I talk about back in the day as in Mad Men, may it rest in peace. But back in the day, this was how marketing worked. On one side, you had the brands. You had your Procter & Gamble, your Ford Motor Company, et cetera, and the brands fed dollars to the media. These are folks like Time Magazine, your major TV networks, the Wall Street Journal, in exchange for advertising space. So the brands fed dollars to the media fed advertising to the public, and the funny thing is the public was actually happy to have this advertising because that was the only source of information that the public had about the products and services available to them. That the advertising was their only resource. We had some word of mouth, but it was kind of, it wasn't nearly what we have today. And the public was so grateful that they grabbed their dollars in their sweaty little fists and fed those dollars back to the brands. They went to buy their Ford cars and their Procter & Gamble products and what have you. So this is what I call the golden triangle. You had the brands, the media, and the public. And this was as close to a perfect system as you can get. So what was the marketing like back then? Back then, marketing was based on what I call the 3 B's: barge, brag, and bully. So the barge was interruption-based marketing. We're going to interrupt you while you are, if you're reading your favorite magazine, boom, there's an ad. If you're enjoying a Sunday drive, boom, there's a billboard. Or if you're tuning into your favorite TV show, boom, there's an ad. It was all about interrupting people while they're doing something that they would ordinarily be doing. So once we interrupted them, we marketers interrupted them, we came on with the brag. And it was all about a barrage of features and benefits of our products. Excedrin will cure your headaches. Driving BMW will make you the envy of your neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera. We really came on strong with those features and benefits of our products and services. And then the final stage was the bully. This was the high pressure marketing tactics. Got to buy now, supplies are limited, don't be the last one on your block to have one, et cetera, et cetera. Now, did all that really work? Yes, it did. It really did. It seems archaic to us now, but for many decades, that was the way marketing worked, and everybody was pretty happy with it. Now, until the late 1990s. And in the late 1990s, we had 2 factors come up that changed absolutely everything. Factor number 1 was the rise of the internet. And when the internet came on the scene, all of a sudden anybody could be a publisher. And what did that mean? That meant the media, remember they were part of that golden triangle, they lost their monopoly on mass communications. So that advertising fueled communications that was paid for primarily by advertising was not the only game in town anymore. And this was a huge disruption to that golden triangle. And I share the story about when I was in college in the late 1980s. I worked at the public library, and one of my jobs was to maintain the periodicals, the magazines, the newspapers. And there was one magazine that we had to keep behind the counter. And to read this magazine, you had to give us your driver's license, which we hung on to while you looked at it. And then when you brought it back, you would get your license back. Can you guess what that was? It was Consumer Reports. Consumer Reports was like gold because back in the days before the web, that was one of the only objective sources that we had for information on products and services. So the internet was just a huge disruption in terms of the media and its monopoly on those mass communications, a monopoly that was fueled, of course, by advertising. So that was factor number 1. Factor number 2, and it's not something you hear a lot about these days, but it was the rise of Generation X. Generation X. Now I am absolutely in that group. We're kind of laid back. We're kind of, whatever. We're not really, we don't call a lot of attention to ourselves, especially these days. But Generation X had a huge impact on the way that marketing went. Think about what was going on while Gen X was coming of age. We had the Exxon Valdez scandal. We had the insider trading scandal. We had the savings and loan scandal. We had all these corporate scandals going on while we were growing up. At the same time, a lot of us were watching our parents deal with something new called downsizing, which became, yes, a thing in the 90s, and watched our parents get marched out of jobs where they had served for sometimes 20, 30 years. So you can imagine when these brands came on with their bright, shiny marketing, Gen X did what Gen X does, and we rolled our eyes and said, yeah, right, sell it to somebody else. We're not drinking your Kool-Aid. So those were the 2 developments that changed everything. So where are we now? Well, the internet, how's the internet doing? Pretty well, would you say? The web has taken over everything. Can you think of the last major decision that you made that did not involve a web search of some kind, or even a casual decision? Where do you want to eat today? I don't know. Let's look at some restaurants around. It's changed our lives, and that stealing or that winnowing away of big media's stronghold on mass communications has become even worse. Have you seen what's going on in journalism and in the mass media industry these days? They're in big trouble. And then as far as Gen X is concerned, well, guess what? Gen X is getting into our prime earning years. And, we, as I say in the book, we're still cynical little bastards, but we're cynical little bastards with money and titles and prestige and budgetary discretion. So those two factors are more important than ever. So, if you look at the barge, brag, and bully attitude, that approach today, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like it used to. And, for example, the old tactic was to interrupt people, interruption-based marketing. Well, what does today's consumer have? We have DVRs that let us skip over commercials. We have satellite radio in our cars. We have Netflix and other sources of entertainment whose main claim to fame is that they're ad-free. Consumers are no longer hostage to the advertisers. So barge isn't working as well as it used to. So what about brag? Now, yeah, advertising, we're going to talk about the features and benefits of our products and services. But guess what? Now consumers have the web. So they can look at our bright, shiny marketing and say, oh, that's great. Let me go to the web and see what's really up. Let me go to Angie's List. Let me go to Yelp. Let me go to Travel Advisor and see what the real deal is. So, of course, we're going to talk about features and benefits, but consumers are now able to check up on us and see what the real deal is. So we have the barge and the brag, and then the bully. Those high-pressure sales tactics, those aren't working so well either. Think about what we have now. We have caller ID. We have spam filters, and basically when marketers turn on the pressure, consumers can turn off that line of communication. So what all this is building up to is the fact that there is now a gap. There's a trust gap between brands and consumers. How do we fill that gap? With content. So that is kind of a part one of why content marketing and why now, the factors that have led up to the content marketing revolution. And next week, we will continue this discussion and talk a little bit more about why content marketing is such a big deal right now and how it is becoming part of the mainstream marketing vibe, if you will. So if you have any questions or want to add to the conversation, I would love to hear from you. And the best way to reach me is through the website, resonancecontent.com. And by the way, our website is new and improved. I got so wrapped up in the book, I forgot to announce we have a brand new website that has some new features and some new pages and some new cool info. So head on over to resonancecontent.com and check it out. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. For today's tip, and no, today's tip is not go buy a copy of the book. Today's tip has to do with content marketing when the going gets tough. And this is something that I'm noticing, especially here in Houston. As I've talked about, the oil and gas industry is in crisis mode right now. We've had a lot of downsizing, a lot of layoffs because of the crash in oil prices. And something I notice, and this is a trend I notice almost across the board, is that when times get tough, when there's an industry downturn or if a company has a rough quarter or two, I notice a tendency to edge away from their content marketing approach and to start using those content venues more and more for promotion. And I see blogs, what was before very well thought out blogs turning into, here's a reason of the week why you should buy from us. And I see social media feeds turning into a nonstop series of promotions when times get tough. And I get it. When fear sets in, when we're saying, oh my gosh, we had a bad quarter, we need to up our sales, marketers, we want to start grasping. We want to start pushing, and we say we need to sell more products and more services, and we start pushing. And unfortunately, sometimes that push extends into our content venues. But I am here to tell you, I know that temptation is there and I totally get it, but we have to stay the course as content marketers. We have to maintain our commitment to providing our audiences with insightful content that is focused on their needs. Because I'll tell you what will happen. If you start turning your content platforms into just another marketing bullhorn, you will undo all the goodwill that you've built up with your audience over the months and over the years. And one by one, that audience will abandon you. You know, we don't go to blogs to be sold to. We don't go to social media to be sold to. That barge, brag, and bully approach we talked about a little while ago. That's not what people go to content for. They go to content for things that are relevant to them. So, that's why people follow you. People follow you because they trust you to deliver that value-based content. And if you start breaking that trust by turning your content venues into just another bullhorn for your marketing message, you may never get that trust back. I'm sorry to say, once that trust is broken, it's really difficult to rebuild, and if not impossible to rebuild. So my admonition to you is that when times get tough, it is more important than ever that we stay the course and stick to our mission of delivering quality content that informs, educates, entertains, and inspires. Okay, campers, that is it for me today. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Content Marketing Podcast with insights from the new book. If you like what you've heard, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play Music or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. Also, if I haven't mentioned it enough, remember that the new book, The Content Marketing Coach, is now available for pre-order at contentmarketingcoachbook.com. And if you pre-order by August 31st, you can claim your super cool MVP bonuses. As you know, I always like to leave you with a quote, and today's comes from Seth Godin. He once said, quote, "How can you squander even one more day not taking advantage of the greatest shifts in our generation? How dare you settle for less when the world has made it so easy for you to be remarkable?" Unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you again next week. Take care.